What's up, everybody? Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. It's kind of a weird time of the week to have a holiday, but hope everybody had a good one, a safe one. And I wanted to, without too much notice, I wanted to have a brief stream. With us being a newer channel, we tend to get a lot more views once the stream is posted and up. So for many of you, you'll be seeing this after we have ended the stream, and so I wanted to talk about a few things tonight. I'm going to bring in my co-host here in a few minutes, but real quick, how'd everybody's 4th of July go? Hope it was safe. Hope it was time well spent with friends, family, whatever makes you guys happy and relaxed, and chance to kind of reflect on what it means to live in this country and the freedoms that we all have and hopefully don't take for granted. But I think a lot of us sometimes do, including myself. And so it was a good holiday. And now following up on the weekend, I'm still in a little bit of not shock, but surprised that Indiana Jones 5 did as poorly as it did. And it's one of those things where I think that, they put so much money into making this movie. And then I think it was north of 300 million. Some estimates have it as high as 325, 330 million with the reshoots that were done. But let's call it 300 million. And then they did the marketing for it, which was north of 100 million, and some estimates saying 140 million. So you're looking at 425 to 450 million in that range, and too much money to be spent on a movie, even with the nostalgia of Indiana Jones. He's 80 years old, so I think that was a mistake. Then they released it at the Cannes Film Festival, and major strategic mistake, thinking that they were going to get some sort of kudos from the community around Cannes. That didn't happen. The reviews were lukewarm to poor, and so the movie was set up to fail. There's been rumors that Disney pulled out some of the marketing at that point. I think that other channels that dig into that will come up with the final numbers and analytics around what really happened with the marketing of the movie. But at the end of the day, it's another loss for Disney in a year that they couldn't afford to have a loss like this at this point in the year. The box office is rebounded from last year. It's up from last year, but it's still down over 20%. I think it's 21% from 2019 pre-COVID. So people's habits have changed in terms of what they go to the theater to see. And, it's one of those things where, I think that they have to reevaluate how much money they're spending on these movies, and, the content that they're putting out, who the audience is, and, some of the things that they've done. I went and saw the movie, as I mentioned in a previous stream that I had, and I had things I liked about it. I think I gave it 6.5 out of 10, kind of somewhere between 6 and 7. There were things I didn't like, but there were things that I did. And I know people have talked about, is it better than Crystal Skull? Is it not better than Crystal Skull? Bottom line is, it doesn't matter. The movie's going to lose a lot of money. And so, we'll talk about that a little bit tonight. Watched the first 3 episodes. The 3rd episode came out this week for Secret Invasion. I don't know yet where I stand on Secret Invasion. So it's I don't know about that show. I don't know about you guys. If you've watched it, what your thoughts are on Secret Invasion. It seems slow in parts. It's the set that what's up, Caleb? the set that they filmed at, like the Chernobyl set, it's like you've seen that in so many other films and series. Like, it was wasn't it in Avengers? Wasn't the Chernobyl set in one of the Avengers movies? Was it Ultron? Uh, what's up, Star Wars dog? What's up, Ronnie? Um, it's like you know, Secret Invasion. I think Amelia Clark, who I'm a big fan of, I think she's miscast in this maybe, but I want to see the rest of the. I'm going to stick with it for the rest of the season. I don't know if it's a limited series or if this is just season one and they're trying to make multiple seasons of it. I haven't done that much looking into what the game plan is for Secret Invasion, but what's up, Mataween, fellow Arlington? What is it, Arlingtonian? What do you say, Arlingtonian? But yeah, Secret Invasion. It's just a little slow. The bad guy, Gravik. The guy's just an okay actor. I don't know. It's just there's something missing with the show. I don't hate it, but it's not great. Yeah, Caleb, the story, the animated show for 2010. What's up, Nikki? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know with Secret Invasion. I may not stick with it, but as of right now, I'll probably give it a few more episodes. They had a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end of this episode 3 that hit yesterday or today. But you could see what's coming. I mean, the person is not dead. So I don't know. Secret Invasion. And I'm going to get into some of the stuff around what happened yesterday at the box office when my co-host arrives here momentarily. I may enter some more people into the stream here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about superhero and Comic Con that starts Friday. I was looking at the panels. They're going to have a Q&A. I think some of this is funny. They're going to have a Q&A, obviously, of Kit and Amelia, where there'll be Game of Thrones questions lobbed at him left and right. I'm sure she'll be asked about Secret Invasion. Kit will be asked about, he just had his second child. I think his wife gave birth, Rose Leslie gave birth the day before yesterday, so Monday. And so, it'll be interesting to see the questions they ask them. There's going to be a Q&A panel with Elizabeth Olsen, which I'm sure she'll get asked a lot about Marvel and Scarlet Witch and WandaVision and so things around that. And then I don't believe Andrew Garfield is having a Q&A panel that I saw. I know Katie Sackhoff is, so there'll be a lot of questions around Mandalorian and Star Wars. And unless they control the questions, I'll be surprised if she's not asked about the fan reaction to Mandalorian. She just started her own channel, so I'm sure she's gonna have to deal with that, right? But and answer some of those questions. Yeah, Caleb, shocked Kit didn't have to cancel. As right now, he's going to be there. So I think if she had not given birth yet, and maybe was really, really close, that maybe would cause him to maybe not go. I'm not sure. I think it just depends on how she's doing. If she's already home with the baby, I don't think she probably would travel with him. But yeah, Katie Sackhoff's channel should be called the 2%. But she named it the blah 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 channel. And so yeah, so interested. They're going to do a Q&A. And then Brie Larson, our favorite Brie Larson, is going to do a Q&A, which that might be the most interesting Q&A panel at the con. Because Brie Larson, she doesn't know how to stay on script, right? She's going to answer questions, in a way that that's going to make headlines. There's going to be something that comes out of that Q&A. Yeah, Matt Tween, the Man in the High Castle. I watched that. It lost me in the second season. It lost me, but let's see. We're adding Sterling here. Fashionably late. What's up, buddy?
I didn't know we were streaming.
So in honor of the last few days, I gotta put on my glasses. because I think we all feel like that we've attended a funeral, and I wanted to wait till you got here, Sterling. So, Sterling, in the last 4 days, did you feel a sense of loss? Did you feel, even though we had the fourth and there was a lot of celebration, did you feel like maybe something has died in the last few days?
What, Lucasfilm? What are we talking
Well,
about? Indiana Jones? What are we
so
talking about?
For all of you that may not know, let me pull up something, and I want to be very sensitive here, because I think this is something that I don't need to joke about, but I'm going to show you guys. Yesterday on July 4th, when America was celebrating its birthday, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny grossed $11,698,000 and $698,989 at the box office. It came in second, Sterling, and with a budget of $300 million and almost $140 million of marketing, which puts it at around $440 million.
It got beat by a movie with an extremely limited release.
It came in second to Sound of Freedom.
That's about child sex trafficking. Yeah.
Which let me Sound of Freedom grossed $14,242,000, $242,063, and maybe a few cents. But it grossed a few $1 million more than Indiana Jones. And I wanna switch screens here for just a second. And I want everybody to see that when we pull up the budget, Sterling, for the Sound of Freedom, I want to show everybody the budget was $15 million.
Oh, wow. And it was extremely limited. I think they had like 2 showings where we're from.
So, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. I wanted to see Indiana Jones do well. But
I didn't.
On the 4th of July, on our nation's birthday, Indiana Jones got beat by a movie that I don't even know the studio that made the movie. It could have been Poop in Your Pants Studios.
It was Mel Gibson, I think.
Mel Gibson
produced it.
Mel Gibson probably funded the movie from his church in Costa Rica, and they beat Indiana Jones. And I think what this means, everybody, is that Willow is dead. Star Wars for now is dead. Star Wars is dying. It's on the ventilator, and the machines are hooked up, and the crew is coming in and administering CPR. And Indiana Jones, I think we can all agree, they killed Mutt. Mutt died in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And Indy's gone, folks. And with that, Kathy Kennedy has basically killed Lucasfilm. And I just want to take a moment of silence to say, way to go, Kathy. You destroyed everything that was good in the world. And now,
certainly everything that Lucasfilms has done.
You've got nothing else to kill.
She rolled through every one of their franchises.
So basically, we're waiting on one more professional death of a career, and that's Kathy Kennedy. Kathy Kennedy is quite possibly the worst studio head. How in the world do you get beat by a movie that did no marketing, had no studio behind it, and had a budget of $14.5 million, and you got beat on July 4th on basically day 5 at the box office for Indiana Jones, and they got beat. And to tell you how sensitive this is right now, the sites that were reporting the revenue were going to use the excuse that it was a holiday yesterday and things were running slow. But they didn't want to put it out because Disney and Lucasfilm were trying to find every dollar they could to say that they beat Sound of Freedom. The last thing that they needed was people making fun of them for getting beat by a movie that I didn't even know came out yesterday. I didn't even know it came out yesterday. Now, I know some people probably did. They got beat by The Sound of Freaking Freedom.
Had Jim Caviezel in it from Passion of the Christ. He hasn't done anything in a long time.
The last thing I saw Jim Caviezel in, he was talking to Dennis Quaid over the CB radio. You know, his dad from the past, and before that, he was in the Passion of the Christ. Yes, Special Ray. I don't know why KK fired the Game of Thrones guys. She should have loved what they did to Jon Snow. Yeah. Well, kind of, sort of. You know, although Special Ray, Kathy Kennedy would have never, ever, ever allowed what happened to Daenerys Targaryen to happen to her by the hands of Jon Snow. Never, 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 never would that have been allowed to happen.
True.
Or Missandei getting her head chopped off by the mountain. Yeah, Cersei and Daenerys would have split the kingdom and taken over, and Jon would have been eaten by the whites.
Missandei would have beaten the mountain in single combat.
Yeah, Jim was in Count of Monte Cristo. That's a great movie. You know, that was the first real book I read. I remember how thick it was, and I read a bunch of books that were like 100 pages, and that was the first one that I read that was like a real book, and loved it. The movie wasn't as good as the book, obviously, but the movie was still good. Yeah, so, you know, Jim Caviezel, good on him. I know Mel Gibson's behind it. Mel Gibson's always been a great filmmaker. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, did you see Indiana Jones?
No.
You didn't see it.
I watched a detailed review by what's his name, Nerdrotic. And,
I know Nikki hasn't seen it. I know Kings, you haven't seen it.
but
has anybody else in the chat seen Indiana Jones?
Bad as we thought.
I didn't think so.
You saw it?
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. But I mean, there were parts I didn't like. Phoebe Waller-Bridge was cast just because Kathy Kennedy wanted Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She wanted Fleabag in the role. So some of it, and I do agree that they wrote the character to be not likable of Helena. They wrote her that way. She's not a good actor, but I thought Mads was an okay villain. I mean, I love Mads Mikkelsen, but he didn't have a whole lot to do. I thought the story was okay. I still don't like the CGI. I know, Nikki, you talked about CGI versus Luke. I do think Ryan at RK Outpost made some good points, and I think someone else did on the stream the other night about that they spent so much time, the first 20 minutes of the movie, with the CGI, that they had a lot of movement to do that Luke, you didn't have in Book of Boba Fett. You know, he's standing in a kind of a forest, and so you know, they had a lot more to deal with. You know, to me, it was like his eyes were glassy.
I heard it looks like a 40-year-old man moving like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah, I do think Rissman made a good point, and you know, you're taken out a little bit when you hear his voice, because they should have used technology around his voice to make him, you know, like in the first movie when you hear him say Belloc, you know, and he's talking to characters, and you have that Harrison Ford.
He definitely sounds older.
Voice, yeah, he's talking like he's more growly and in this one, and so it didn't really fit. But I read an article today that said that the best CGI or the de-aging that they did in the movie was Mads Mikkelsen. And you know, I need to probably watch it when it comes on streaming and see, because I didn't notice anything about Mads Mikkelsen in the early part of the movie when he's young that made me think that was de-aging, even though I knew it was. So actually, you know, the fact that he was kind of in the backdrop, but the whole thing was dark. The first 20 minutes of the movie was dark. I did like the story of, you know, I thought there was depth to the story, and I've said this before about when they go to 1969. The problem is, the more I think about it, you walk out of the movie theater, and even if you think it was a good movie, I didn't walk out feeling good, you know. So that's what I'm struggling with. It's like, okay, there were parts of it that I liked, but you walk out of the theater feeling like, damn, man, you know, like,
did it feel like a passing of the torch?
Yeah, it did, and maybe that's why I can't blame
her, to Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character.
Possibly, not directly. You know, she runs around the corner to go get ice cream and hopefully gets hit by a Mack truck. So we don't, we end up finding out, that she got hit by a Mack truck in the next movie, and just like Mutt died in Vietnam. But she runs off, and then Indy grabs the hat, where you see his hand grab the hat. But Valiant, I've seen people tying it for third with Temple of Doom is not even the first three movies. I'm not going to say that the last two, Crystal Skull or
actually love Temple
Dial of Destiny, were anywhere close to the three. There's no way. Those three movies, Elsa Schneider and Sean Connery and The Last Crusade, and then the MacGuffin, right? The Grail, to me, great. The trilogy as a whole. Temple of Doom was so different. And you've got Short Round. Short Round, he makes that movie. I mean, Short Round was phenomenal in the second one. I mean, I love him in the Goonies too. Like, I don't know why I saw Jim Mangold talking about, well, here's the reason why we didn't bring in him to be in this movie. That's just a bunch of crap. They had a story and they didn't want to change it. He started getting buzz as he came out of retirement and did a couple projects before he did everything everywhere all at once. And they got caught. They got caught flat-footed, right? They find out that he's going to be nominated, and they were delayed, for 2 years on this movie. Matt Tween, did you see it? Sounds like you did. The bottom line is, the people that liked it, the people that didn't like it. What's up, Damio? It doesn't matter, because the movie is it possibly could beat John Carter for the biggest flop that's documented, right? Like the biggest flop. And how do you survive that? I know that I've been reading a lot of stuff around that the Lucasfilm, they were supposed to be meeting today and coming to have I don't know if it's an emergency meeting, but I think it's a strategy meeting to try to have camps pitted against each other. Like, well, it was a marketing issue. They're going to be pointing fingers, but it doesn't freaking. Yeah, the Indy, the most devastating loss. I think it's running up against John Carter of Mars. That's what it's got to beat to be the biggest flop for Disney ever. Now, if it has legs, then it won't. John Carter will have that crown. But guys, correct me if I'm wrong. John Carter is Disney property, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
But there's no fucking way that this movie's going to have legs because I want to say it right now. Mission Impossible, and we'll get right into some stuff about Mission Impossible that's starting to leak out. I've talked to a few people that have seen it, and it's people are liking it. I talked to somebody that said that they put it second overall in the Mission Impossible movies. So, I think, you've got Fallout, you've got Ghost Protocol. The first one is probably somewhere in the top 5, but Ghost Protocol and Fallout brought it back. They hit a slump, and I didn't like Mission Impossible 2, and I didn't like Mission Impossible 3. But then when they hit Ghost Protocol and Fallout, and then Christopher McQuarrie came in, Mission Impossible got put on steroids, and it's taken off. And this is Deadline. So Deadline, Dead Reckoning Part 1 review, Tom Cruise and company take excitement suspense to new level. And, they're just talking about the things that we all know, which is, you're going to see Tom Cruise doing these stunts. It's going to be fast paced. The two installments, they split them up, right? So it looks like, I haven't seen 600 million, but I'm not going to, joust with them over that. I saw 400 and some change. But how about this? I was looking at it. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I saw John Campy. I got to give him credit. He did cover this. And I was looking at the John Wick as well. Did you know that John Wick, all four John Wick movies cost less than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? All four movies.
Wow.
And add them all up, take the box office revenue from all four John Wick movies, it's right at $1 billion. maybe a little bit more, but let's call it $1 billion. Oh, we're looking in the wrong direction. Maybe I need to swap us. If I knew how to swap. Yeah, give me a second, Kings, and I'll change this up in a second. But John Wick 4, all 4 movies cost less than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So this is not just a case of Kathy Kennedy destroying another franchise. This is just bad business all around by Disney. And, she's going to get, the arrows and the darts. But, what about, Bob Iger, and what about the leadership, the live action group? I mean, we've talked about the movies that they've lost money with, and we started out the year with Quantum Mania, and we then went to Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we had Elemental.
Little Mermaid.
We had Little Mermaid, and now we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. There's one in there I'm missing somewhere. But Strange New Worlds, I think, was late 2022. Maybe it was early 2023. But and then we got to Indiana Jones 5, and you've got the Marvels coming. And the only thing that they've really made money on, I know someone posted in one of the major trades that, is chat being weird? Let's see. How about that, guys? Is that better? The chat looks fine to us, Nikki. I don't know. But it's Disney has, they talked about Little Mermaid being over 500 million, and it's gross, but it has to make like 300 million more. Like, you read these articles, and now I've gotten to the point where, I start to pay attention to when you see an agenda and you see that, how could you have the premise of an article saying that this movie has actually slowly got legs, and listen, if they spent,
well, Collider really wants it to succeed.
Collider,
Yeah.
Little Mermaid,
yeah,
or Indy,
Little Mermaid.
Well,
like every article they post about it is that, it could be, it's got legs. It swims on the second, third week. It's like, compare it to something like Aladdin.
It's going to make $800 million to make a profit. Yeah. So we're not the one, none of the fans were the ones that said, hey, go spend $200+ million on the production, and 100. I mean, how much did they spend in the marketing for Little Mermaid? So
I think they said they spent more in marketing on Little Mermaid than any live action.
That's right. So you're at 350 at a minimum.
And those are movies that were consistently making over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Aladdin.
And then people are being disingenuous when they're like, well, they're going to get licensing and toys, all that. Listen, that's not the way
selling. That's not selling.
If you think that Disney can say, hey, here's 6 movies for 2023, and we spend an average of $175 million each, on average production budget, and we lost money on all of them but Guardians of the Galaxy, and maybe you're going to make $100 million or a little bit less profit on Guardians 3, but the rest of them you're losing money. And you're talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. You could potentially lose over $250 million on that movie. And I don't care what people say about Kathy Kennedy's got a year left on her contract. Victoria Alonso got thrown under not only the bus, she got thrown under the tank over Quantum Mania. And I know people said, well, she had this movie, the Argentina movie, that they told her don't go on the red carpet and promote it because it's another studio and you work for Disney and all that. That's a bunch of crap. I mean, I'm not saying that didn't happen. I mean, but
they had to pay her a bunch of money, didn't they? And she settled or something.
Yeah. If Marvel was in a good place financially, they wouldn't have given 2 flips that she was on the red carpet promoting Argentina. She's from there. They wouldn't have cared.
They needed to get rid of her, though. She was a cancer. She needed to go.
I know. So you were worried she was going to destroy X-Men. So
I'm glad she's gone before
Sterling. Sterling is the biggest X-Men fan around, and when you heard that she said she didn't want the term and around the creative team X-Men to be used,
Yeah, she thought the term X-Men was outdated.
yeah,
There's a lot of women in the group.
She wanted it to be called mutants,
Yeah.
and so you're waiting for her to just ruin X-Men so you'd be done with the whole thing. But
I'm glad she's gone.
yeah. So anyway, if people think that Kathy Kennedy, again, I don't think anybody's saying that they're gonna fire her and it's gonna hit the trades and be some nasty drawn out thing. No, but
they should though.
But she's got a contract, and they can pay that contract out and send her home. They can basically say, look, you're all the decisions now are being made. And look, I'll tell you this, Jim Mangold, if anybody thinks that he's going to get a couple $100 million to do another movie, do a Star Wars movie after what's going to end up happening with Indiana Jones, they can say all day long that it wasn't his fault. They don't not blame him. Look, if you lose $250 million, you know what happens? Everybody gets fired.
Yeah, that's going to be their excuse to
let
some people go.
That's when, y'all degenerates. What's up, Star Wars Marvel purist? Yeah, so look, we've seen movies lose $30 million, $50 million. You lose over $250 million, which they could. I mean, because they need to make, at 450 all in.
What do you think their quarterly earnings is going to look like?
Well, I think the earnings, Valiant Renegade will do that. He's really good at covering the earnings reports. I'll look at them once they hit.
It's going to be a rough
I think it's next month. I think it's next month. I think it's in August. But I'll check on that and we'll put something out. But yeah, so Indy gets beat by The Sound of Freedom, and it's the death of Lucasfilm. She has nothing else to ruin. Oh, actually, I stand corrected. She's got one more IP to ruin for Lucasfilm.
What's that?
Howard the Duck.
Oh, I didn't even.
She's got Howard the Duck, y'all. So she's gonna do something with Howard the Duck. I mean, that's it, right? The Dark Crystal. I mean, she's got the Dark Crystal and Howard the Duck.
The Dark Crystal was on Netflix, though, wasn't it? And then they canceled it already.
Dark Crystal was Lucasfilm, right? Wasn't it?
I don't know about that. Because it was already on Netflix, and they canceled it after the first season.
Yeah, Indy and the Flash. I mean, I didn't dislike either movie. I mean, neither one of them were great. I don't think it's their movies you're going to go and see over and over again. I think there's a lot of stuff going on with, the habits. Like I mentioned earlier, Sterling, I don't think you were here when I said it, but the box office overall, is Howard the Duck Marvel again? He showed up. Dark Crystal is Jim Henson, but didn't that go through Lucasfilm? I thought that went through Lucasfilm. I know Jim Henson did it.
I don't think so, because it was in
maybe it wasn't.
It was on Netflix a few years ago.
Maybe not. But now Howard the Duck showed up in one of the Marvel movies. It was Guardians. Showed up in the Guardians.
Well, they're all Disney properties.
Yeah, it showed up in the Guardians. He was in the little menagerie in the with Benicio del Toro. But
I'm still bitter about Willow.
It
was so bad that was pulled the show off the streaming service.
Yeah, that was the first video that we did because we typically don't do, bashing videos or, we cover the content we like, and we talked about Willow. We didn't even cover it. And I like the original Willow, but I mean, that was a complete disaster.
Canceled the second season and pulled the show off the streaming service.
Yeah,
they rarely ever pull shows off a streaming service. I mean,
it never showed up. Yeah, someone posted an image. I couldn't find it. I was looking for it earlier. Nikki of Star Wars Willow and Indy. There was a tombstone that had all three of them, and Kathy Kennedy was there with a shovel. She was putting dirt on them.
She's awful.
There's
this old interview with Steven Spielberg talking about Kathleen Kennedy. Have you seen that? About how she was terrible at
She was
taking
terrible at
notes.
making coffee.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
awful at taking notes, but great at interrupting.
Oh yeah, he did say she was good at interrupting.
It's
And he look, I mean, at that Indy premiere when he got up on stage and he didn't mention her, like, to me that was you could tell she was upset.
to me, it feels like she has like this.
Steven doesn't care.
She has a bitterness towards them, and I do think she actively wants to ruin everything they've done.
Yeah, yeah. Caffeine Kennedy. Yeah, I saw WDW Pro has t-shirt. He has t-shirts, right? Caffeine Kennedy t-shirts. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, so and I think we're, it, we've been saying, I think we said early on when we started our channel that you know they're not going to do this whole unceremoniously firing unless she just gets in a all out battle with Iger, which I don't see that happening.
They've been talking about firing her for
But what
5
they
years.
can do is she's going to get her money for through 2024. She's going to get her money, but they can send her home and say all the decisions now are going through Jimmy Pitaro, who's running ESPN. And I don't know if you guys saw they're
ESPN's flopping too.
so ESPN has cut people across the board, layoffs, Jalen Rose and that whole crew, Keyshawn Johnson and who's the guy, the Boston guy. They cut that whole crew and they're getting off big contracts, and then National Geographic Channel basically is gone. And so there's a lot of cuts out with that many people getting let go, and then somebody put it out to the trades, and some of them ran with it about that while all these cuts are happening. It was the week of Indiana Jones coming out. So one of the trades ran an article, you guys could look it up. Bob Iger is doing like a multi-million-dollar renovation to his LA property, so he's getting his property upgraded right when just bad timing,
right
right?
as Disney's tanking.
So think about who would have to know that to leak to the press about Iger doing that. It has to be somebody that
It didn't have to be someone within Disney though. It could
no, that's true.
It could
But
just be a Hollywood reporter, but
well, someone that's seen the property that knows he's doing work on the property. It could have been someone that was just digging and found out. But yeah, so we've got all that going on. We've talked a little bit about Superhero Con. For those that won't be there, it's in San Antonio Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll be there, and so I'll attend a few of the panels. I'm going to attend the Kit and Amelia panel, and I have to look. I think it's on Sunday, the Katie Sackhoff panel, but I'm going to try to attend the Katie Sackhoff panel, and maybe one more. I don't know. Do I sit through Brie Larson just hoping she says something really stupid that I can run with, or do I go to Elizabeth Olsen and hear her talk about Marvel or whatever else is coming up? I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to do the Amelia and Kit panel, and then hopefully the Katie Sackhoff panel. I come back Sunday night. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be walking around the Comic Con with the phone and the selfie stick, right? I'm going to be walking around recording what's at the Comic Con. And I've decided that my Daenerys and Jon Snow original artwork, I'm going to try to get them to sign it. So I'm going to carry it with me and see if I can get those signed. And Katie Sackhoff, proud member of the 2%. Yeah, Katie's pretty cool. She I feel bad. Like she steps in, gets the biggest break of her career with The Mandalorian, and then it's just a god awful season. So it's like you have this positive of a really good person who's kind of been through a little bit, kind of up and down in her career, and has always had moments where you think she's going to hit, and then it kind of, the series gets canceled or a movie doesn't do that well, and she's been fighting and clawing, and she finally gets the gig of a lifetime, and then people are crapping on that Lizzo and Jack Black are there. So you know, so Mission Impossible, the early reviews look pretty good on that. I mean, and you know what?
Yeah,
We
I
haven't
wanna
even
see.
talked about yet. I think Barbie's going to make a shitload of money.
I don't care about Barbie though.
I know you don't,
That's
but
not something.
but that's going to look. I mean, people aren't going to go to the theater and say, oh, my wife wants to see Barbie or my daughters, and then they go, well, I didn't get a chance to see Indy. We'll go see that. People aren't doing that right now. Their habits have changed. So if they go to the theater, it's kind of like, when Quantum Mania was out, then you had Creed 3, you have a couple of movies, John Wick 4, and people are like, look, I'm going to go see Creed. I'm going to go see John Wick. But literally, like, people are choosing because it's down over 20% from 2019. People's habits have changed. I think Barbie's going to make more than Indy 5. Absolutely. 100%.
You think
100% Barbie's
habits
going to
have
make
you
more
think
money than
habits
Indy
have
5.
changed though? I just think people are tired of crappy movies and they're not making movies to appeal to their audience. They don't know who their audience is anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Barbie's going to come at it from a kind of a satirical look. They're taking it, from a little bit of a kind of like the Lego movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, hey, they're not going to do anything to damage the brand because they wouldn't let them do that when they're selling Barbies. But they'll take a little bit of a funny satirical look at it, and there'll be some type of message in the movie, but I don't think they'll cram it down anybody's throats. I think it'll be like, a little bit of a subtle message with a lot of humor and tongue in cheek kind of thing. But Mission Impossible, Star Wars, Marvel purist. I think the only question I have about it getting to 1 billion is it's a long movie. It's like 2 hours and 40 something minutes. So when these dummies at the movie theaters,
Barbie?
no, Mission Impossible,
Oh,
Dead
okay.
Reckoning. When these dummies that run the movie theaters make you sit through 30 minutes of commercials and trailers, and then the movie starts, a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, you're going to lose one showing a day. That's one extra screening a day that the theaters lose by the movie being over 2 hours and 20 minutes. So they still are going to run the commercials. They're still going to run the trailers, and then they're going to play the movie. So they lose one extra screening a day. So if you think about 4,000 theaters or screens that it's playing on nationwide, that's millions of dollars potentially lost the first week or two. And Tom is big too on. He's been pushing the last 5 years on. We want more Dolby Atmos screens. We want more IMAX screens. He's trying to help prop up the theater business. Hell, he's single-handedly, besides Jim Cameron and Tom Cruise single-handedly kept the theater business alive. I mean, who else? I mean, Super Mario.
Yeah.
Mario. But so I think he, MI6 did 800 million. I'm saying like between 800 and 950, somewhere around where Multiverse of Madness it was. But look, I mean, if it gets to 1 billion or more with it movie being that long, man, that's that just says to you that Tom Cruise is at the pinnacle. He's at the peak of his career. I mean, he had I think at one point in time in the 90s, I think Tom had like 10 hits in a row. Or 10 $100 million back when 100 million
He seems
was
to
big.
have a big movie every year since I've been alive.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything. I mean, his movies that were hits didn't have huge budgets. So like, if he did Cocktail, those types of movies, they were hits, but they didn't cost $150 million or more. So yeah, Top Gun Maverick, it's not going to that was like a perfect storm of nostalgia. And you look at when you make a movie now, if you pull more than 40 something percent of any demographic, it's probably not good. You want to spread the demographic out. You want to make a movie that everyone goes to. I wish I could pull it up. I saw an old video the other day. Someone put it on Twitter of Return of the Jedi in 1983, and people coming out of the movie theater and being interviewed, and it was people from all cross sections of life loving Return of the Jedi, and
Here's the thing, though.
doesn't happen anymore.
But I think Disney's tried to do that to expand their audience, and that's been part of their downfall. I mean, Star Wars fans are going to be mostly young to middle-aged men. I mean, and they've tried to move that away from that, and I think it's hurt them. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't think you need to try to make all things for everybody.
Right.
I think you need to find a demographic, stick with it, and if it's good enough, other people will come in and watch it. But the all things for everybody thing, I think Disney's tried that, and that's one of the reasons why they are where they are right now.
Look, it's just like any business where you have a revenue stream coming in, you have a customer base. If you're focusing on new business, and for those that have been in the corporate world, have been responsible for revenue, I have for over 20 years. You know, they say, well, we want net new revenue, we want new business, we want to grow by at least 10 to 15%, and then they tell you, but we have what's called retention rate. So we can't lose customers. We need to be at 98% retention, which means we don't want to lose any more than 2%. Churn. Churn means you lost them as a customer. Contract runs out, they leave you. So we want to stay at least 98% customer retention rate. So apply that to Disney and Star Wars or any other thing that falls under Disney. If you've got a certain part of the segment of the fan base that's male, and whatever age group, you can't grow the female demographic or the Latino Hispanic demographic or the African American demographic and lose a demographic on your foundational side, right? So you can't have something drop by 20 or 30% and this goes up by 20%. You're flat or under. And that's just economics. That's just business.
It seems like they're losing like 40% of one demographic to add maybe 10% of another. Like if you look at the box office of the last Star Wars trilogy, they lost over half their audience by what was it, from episode 7 to episode 9? Half the audience was gone. So I mean,
who's Special Ray said, how many theaters in Paris? Are you talking about Paris, Tennessee? Who said they live in Mataween? Yeah, Mataween, you live in Paris, Tennessee now, right? So that's where I've been there before. I had a client there, the medical center. You know, the medical center that's there in Paris. Yeah, that's small town. So how many theaters did you say it had? Yeah, Paris, Tennessee. Yeah, I thought you told me when we met in Nashville at the ICCC that you lived in. Yeah, it's 1.5 billion for Maverick. Man, that's crazy. I wanted to show you guys, you know, we're all things Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. So before I do that, you know, I may invite someone in. Where's our resident female that will keep us in line? Is Nikki still here? So maybe I will send an invite to Miss Nikki. And you can jump on or not. It doesn't matter. You know, we want to be kept in line. You know, I'm so focused on the death of Lucasfilm today that maybe I need to be kept in line. But yeah, I'm wondering the small towns, you know, that have one theater, two theaters. Mataween, you don't have to have a camera, Nikki. Come on, you know, you got your logo right where you're drinking coffee. But yeah, Mataween, Paris, Tennessee. So they have there's no IMAX or anything there? No Dolby Atmos IMAX? We have a bunch of them where we are. There's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, we have a different our theater chain's a little different though. It's not. It's
Yeah, there's a chain here called Malco, and they're one of the
just let everybody know where we live. I
well,
mean, it's-
we always say Tennessee, you know.
when we say something that really offends people someday,
They'll track us down. But Malco was one of the theaters that held on during COVID. They had a few locations they were going to expand to that did not happen because of COVID, but I don't think they didn't shut anything down. No theaters got shut down. So there's probably
they shut down some of them to do renovations. I know that, but
Star Wars Marvel purists. I have another 80s stream coming up soon.
the 80s was a great time. So many franchises and IPs that are going on today started in the 80s, you know.
And there is a Robert Meyer Burnett is going to a concert, Huntington Beach, California, in November. And what's up, Nikki?
What's up, guys?
Hey.
What's up?
Continue. I don't want to interrupt the flow.
So you still haven't seen it yet, huh?
Which one?
Indy?
Nah, I'm not going to.
You've heard everybody critique it, and
I mean, to be honest, like I love Harrison Ford, but Indiana Jones was never a franchise I got into. I got into whatever my parents showed me, and it was mainly like Star Wars and a bunch of like old comedies. So
Yeah.
they never really. I guess maybe they thought I wouldn't be interested because I was a girl, so they never showed me Indy. But yeah, it was never really my thing.
Well, and that's the thing is that I think because of Crystal Skull, they thought we can put 400 million into this and and we think we're going to make money. Those original 3 movies, they were not movies that were, I don't know that they were were they the top 3 movies of the year? We could look that up in the 80s, but Back to the Future was one that was gargantuan. It made way more money, I think.
Yeah.
But the indie movies was like, look, you go on location, you film these stunt scenes, kind of like what Tom Cruise has done for Mission Impossible, and you have a MacGuffin, and it's simple, lighthearted, and there's a little bit of us, that scary part to it, right? Temple of Doom kind of went in a little bit of a different direction, but
it inspired that whole treasure hunting genre.
Yeah, it was Saturday. It was just like Flash Gordon, but a little bit deeper. It was Saturday morning serial.
Look at all the things from National Treasure, Tomb Raider, Uncharted. Tons of inspired all those things.
Yeah,
it was the original.
Felicity, 6 out of 10 for Indy. They needed a hot chick instead of Phoebe. Yeah, so I mean, I think that would have changed a lot of the dynamic. You could pick 50 actresses. You could pick them. I mean, I was going to start naming some, but it doesn't even matter. There's 100 you could have picked better than Phoebe Waller-Bridge that would have been able to pull that off and make it better.
I don't know why they keep giving her stuff. Could it be because she won all these awards for Fleabag? I have no idea. Like, what makes them think she's qualified to be like the showrunner for Tomb Raider as well? It seems like so far out of her genre. Doesn't make sense to me.
Wait, she's what now?
She's supposed to be developing a series for Lara Croft Tomb Raider. I think that's for Amazon, right?
Yeah, she's not gonna be in it for now, but she's gonna be
she's not gonna be Lara Croft, right?
Oh hell no.
Okay, that's just making sure. I mean, it's gonna be bad anyways, even if she's writing it, but they'll get like some homely chick, make sure she looks very average.
Like, so what I don't understand is like
flat-chested.
For those that know the 80s, like, why can't you take what did they just spend on John Wick? Or let me not say John Wick. There's movies out there that they probably spent $130 million on, 110, somewhere in that range. I know they spent like 120 something on Across the Spider-Verse. Why can't they take something like The Last Starfighter or The Black Hole?
I agree with the Star Wars Marvel purist there. That's exactly how I feel.
That's the thing. Disney had the female market locked up. They bought Star Wars. and Marvel to get the male fans.
They had the female audience locked up at their movies, and then they made Star Wars and Marvel movies like Disney movies. Like raise a Disney princess with the lights.
It reminds me of a kid that has a hole in the bottom of their cup, and they're pouring water. They're pouring it into a cup, right? And they don't understand why the cup doesn't fill up. It's like you can't grow something by losing over here. Like you can't. It doesn't. The math doesn't work. Yeah, The Last Starfighter. You don't have to spend $200 million, and it doesn't even matter if younger generation of kids don't know the original movie. It's irrelevant. You've got the IP. You know, I'm not saying Disney owns it. I'm using that as an example. You've got an IP that you can say, okay, what do we have in the catalog? Because you know they're not doing anything original, like nothing original being done.
They've tried that. It was like Elemental, stuff like that.
And that's another one that the trades wrote about. Elemental has got legs. It's again
huge flop.
Elemental.
No one cares anymore.
Elemental had a $200 million budget.
Yeah.
And my kids, they haven't said one word about Elemental.
I think families.
I want to see it. What is that?
See, here's the problem though. Families used to see Disney and get excited, and now they're actively avoiding it. They're like, "Oh wait, what's going to be in there?"
Because it's the same story over and over again. It's like the same tropes. You can always expect the same thing to happen. That Buzz Lightyear movie.
There's always some agenda though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Buzz Lightyear movie.
Yeah, like what? Why? So they don't bring Tim Allen in for the voice, and then they bring in identity politics, right? You know, the gender stuff.
They said they're bringing him back for
an animated kid movie. Like, just it. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say you're going to have a lot of people that have kids that aren't going to get angry over it. You know, people, on social media act like there's a bunch of hateful bigots that like, well, if you don't go see this movie, you're hateful.
But see, that's what they don't understand.
No, you don't go see the movie because you want to be entertained.
This is boring.
Yeah, you want to be entertained, and you're like, I get enough of that if I turn on the news or social media or whatever.
But like when you look at the mainstream media outlets, they always like to act like there's this loud minority that bashes this stuff. Okay, and maybe they're a minority in the fact that they're actually speaking out about it, but what the general public does is they just don't go see it. They're not going to get on Twitter about it. They're not going to make a YouTube video about it. They're just not going to watch it. And and that's what they don't understand. Most people just go, yeah, I don't care.
Well, and these companies too also give way too much credit to places like Twitter and stuff. They think that the small mob on there is what dictates what the general population would want to see in these movies. And it's not true.
Yeah, Twitter's not a good
you know what?
representation of reality.
All they'd have to do is bring in someone like Kim Kardashian or someone that has I'm serious. Bring someone in who has a lot of social media followers and say, hey, Kim, you have 50 million followers on Twitter. You have 200 million on Instagram, whatever. What does that translate to revenue? Like when you sell products or whatever. And she's going to say, 80% of it is generates nothing. Yeah. There's 20% that generates my revenue and gives me opportunity to build a brand. Like anybody who understands social media understands that 80% of this is just people just giving an opinion that nobody cares about. Right. It goes into the ether, but companies freak out if they see enough. If something goes viral, they think that that's quantifiable. It's not quantifiable. It's not quantifiable. What's quantifiable is we have a customer who is the audience, and are they going to go see our movie? Are they going to watch this series? Do they want to be entertained and not have a bunch of crap brought into it? Avenger Tron 3, I talked about that last week. I'm excited. Evan Peters is badass. He's a great actor.
I love him.
I thought he was amazing in Mayor of Easttown. I got to catch up on American Horror Story. Nikki's got me ready to watch that. I finished Silo 2 nights ago on Apple Plus, so I got that off my plate.
Been watching Righteous Gemstones.
Well, I've
heard good things about that. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I watched the first season of it.
I like Danny McBride though.
Yeah,
you like that humor. I loved Vice Principals and Eastbound and
Down was great. Yeah. I haven't watched the new season of Righteous Gemstones, but But I've got to catch up on the end of The Bear on Hulu, which is a little bit of an Anthony Bourdain kind of a take on, a scripted show that's kind of an Anthony Bourdain, like a guy running a restaurant or trying to launch a restaurant. It's, the guy who plays the Punisher, John Bernthal.
Oh my God, yes, I love him.
Again, here's another guy that, like, why can't he be a Jedi? Why can't he be, and like, I know he's the Punisher.
Toxic masculinity.
Because
Yeah.
you're right. They won't, like, could you imagine him like in Dune with Timothy Chalamet? Like, Timothy Chalamet would look like his 10-year-olds. Like,
I don't mind Timothy Chalamet.
I don't either, but
I like
John
him
Bernthal
in the King. He was great.
He was great in The King.
They can make Bernthal a freaking bounty hunter or something. It's like the last type of character that could actually shoot some kind of like weapon, since they want to take away guns from the Punisher and all that.
Yeah. Well, they were very careful at ICCC. They, what was it? Vincent D'Onofrio that we met the Kingpin, and then the guy playing Daredevil. He was a little bit of an ass at the ICCC.
Yeah.
Vincent really looked like
Charles
be there.
Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah, but that's the kind of the New York Philly in him, right? He's like, you guys, a bunch of, I think that's his shtick, right? Because he was ribbing on the host, the interviewer. Right. He was giving him a hard time, but he was like, what's the one thing that the Kingpin would love? What's on his agenda? Whatever. He's like, to destroy, smash, beat the ever living shit out of Spider-Man. And he's like, I want to get Tom Holland and mess him up. And but they talked about the new thing with the Punisher, like briefly. They really didn't talk about it. Charlie Cox said, I think you're going to see. You're going to be surprised by Daredevil Reborn and where they're going with all that. So
whatever.
That's how bad it is.
It concerns me because, like, I'm sorry, but like Disney,
nothing's going to live up to the Netflix shows. Nothing.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that Disney is going to make the Punisher the same guy that I saw at Netflix. I just don't. I don't buy it. I don't think. One thing that's great though, if Bernthal has a podcast where he interviews people. And he interviewed Shia LaBeouf, and it was entertaining as hell.
I saw them in a movie together. Well, he's barely in it, but it's called Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Well,
that?
he told Shia in the interview that he cared about him, but he was like, look, man, he kept calling him bro. He goes, look, bro, you're not going to get a pass. We're going to talk about the stuff that you have going on, that you've done, and this ain't going to be an easy interview. And Shia LaBeouf just crumbled in front of him. He like fell on the sword, and they have a pretty close. Yeah, they have a good relationship. But Bernthal was like, he stared him down when he was answering questions, basically letting him know, like, look, man, if you try to dance around what you did, I'm not going to be easy on you. So it was a very interesting interview. The dynamics between Bernthal and Shia.
You know what show isn't giving so far any like agenda messages is House of the Dragon. Hopefully not. Hopefully not in season 2.
Let me show something real quick. How cool would it be to be vacationing or in an Airbnb and have House of the Dragon right outside where you're staying?
What the heck?
This is the Wales shoot that they're doing. So they got the catapults and
there's going to be some good battles this season.
And they got the tents set up. Let me go back to this. Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing because you probably can't see it.
This is what other shows need to take note with. Like, as much as I make fun of Andor and all these things, the practical sets, man. Like, nothing. Imagine doing House of the Dragon or even Game of Thrones in the volume. My God, it would look horrible.
Well, and let me know if you guys can see this. It keeps kicking me out. Can y'all see the video playing right now?
No.
Okay, it's kicking me onto Twitter. There's another set where they just have the tent set up and I think I retweeted it, and if I don't, I'll retweet it later on the Sundowners Twitter handle. But somebody rented it where they're staying in the house. They go, "Hey, how cool is it to walk out your door and here comes the Greens. They're Brigade, just
Like
walking by your front yard where they're staying, and they're on horseback, just trotting, and it said, "This is Aegon's army."
Filming outside of his
Yeah,
house.
just right outside where they're staying, which is so cool, man. And when you go over there, you know that there's no hiding. Like, Sterling and I have both been over there when they did Game of Thrones, and
Mhm.
and you can't. I mean, you can put some cover up, like, to keep, the close-ups. They tried to do stuff with the drones, but yeah, the House of the Dragon, they're not even covering it up. But I do think with House of the Dragon, one thing they haven't talked about is I think the show's going to go out of sequence a little bit. I think I was
Well, it's
looking
4 seasons, and this first season was like what, a chapter barely, a couple pages.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back through. I'm going to go back through it on the plane, and I think they're going to go, for people that have read Fire and Blood, I think they're going to go to King's Landing. And I won't say any more, but just this. I think they're going to go to King's Landing before the Battle of the Gullet.
Well,
And
I mean,
think
you know
that's-
where it's gonna end.
Yeah, I
Like,
think that's going to be slightly out of sequence.
I
mhm.
think George R.R. Martin said they needed 4 seasons to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Venger, Nikki was talking about the volume. They did film the Dragonstone. If you go onto Max and watch the making of this season 1, called the Dragon. Is it what is it called?
It's
Anyway,
just
there's a
the behind the
documentary.
scenes stuff.
Yeah, it's a documentary on the season 1 making of House of the Dragon season 1, and they showed Dragonstone. And so what they did was they built the steps along where you would have the bridge, and then right past everything was the newer version of the volume, but it was a much better setup than what they use in California. This was in Leavesden, Pinewood or Leavesden. This was in Leavesden, I think, but it was in UK, right, Venger? And that volume, if you watch it, then you watch Mandalorian, the gallery making of. Dude, I don't know why. I don't know why they're not filming that, doing that for Star Wars, because if you watch the way they filmed that, when I watched season 1 of House of the Dragon, because Game of Thrones went on location for a lot of that Dragonstone shoot, right? So if you know the way the
Yeah.
castle looks, that long bridge that's
Right.
really there in real life, but the backdrop of Dragonstone's not, that was CGI'd or whatever. But they didn't do the bridge this time. So they did a small part of it, and it looked amazing. I couldn't tell you that they weren't really there. So that was really cool the way they did that. And
They mix though, like they mix practical with volume
Yeah.
and things like that. They don't solely rely on just the volume.
And on that documentary, if you look at the interior of the Red Keep, they built, like, when they're walking up the stairs and there's the interior, several of the actors were like, yeah, they would yell cut, and we would go walking down the hall thinking we would open a door and it would be just no set behind it. And there were rooms. Like, they literally built
Hmm.
the Red Keep so extensive,
Right.
and it's really cool the way they did it. And I don't know, it's like when I look at that, I go, man, I as big as Star Wars fans as we all are, why are we seeing Star Wars look so bad? Like, just visually, like,
Because Disney is just like a corporate machine. They're just concerned with pumping out product, not necessarily quality product. But I have a
Remember how
random
good
question
one-
for you guys. I
Yeah.
have a question. Do you think that they're ever going to explain? Because one of my favorite things about House of the Dragon, really random, is Iron Throne. How it looks a little more realistic to what George described it to be. Obviously, there's way more swords and it's way taller in the books. But do you think they're going to explain how it went from what it looks like in House of the Dragon to how it looks like in Game of Thrones?
no.
Just gonna just leave it be, just like whatever.
I'll tell you why. Because I think we're going to see other series. We're going to see the Blackfire Rebellion. We're going to see other events that take place before Robert's Rebellion,
Hmm.
when the throne was smaller. So I
Okay.
think that if they're going to ever cover that, I think they'll save that, because, that's a nice little Easter egg if they showed that at the end of the 4th season or something in House of the Dragon.
Is there an actual
But-
story to why it got bigger? Or
I don't
No,
remember
it was always
No,
so.
George. Yeah,
Yeah, in
George
Game of
had it
Thrones
big.
they
Made
didn't
it
have the
small.
budget, or they just didn't think it was
Yeah,
practical to do it that big and on set. But George was like,
yeah,
"Nah, we're gonna do a little bit."
yeah. I've got a photo. I sat in the Iron Throne, the one they used on the set.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
yeah. They had it. They had it in the building next to Titanic Studios. It's not there now. It was an exhibition where they had wrapped filming and they had all the costumes. So everything Daenerys wore, everything Jon Snow wore, all their swords, everything was all in there. And they had the Crypts of Winterfell, which was my favorite part. They had all the statues that when you see them down there in the crypts, they had the statues all there, and then you walk out and they had the throne room, which it didn't look like the throne room, but they had the Iron Throne sitting there, and it's not big.
Benger has a good point. He says the Mad King kept cutting himself on the
Yeah,
sword, so they could have, I guess, said he had him removed.
yeah. So Ares. Up, did we lose Nikki? If we lost you, Nikki, you can jump back in. There she is.
Sorry, my internet.
Hey, that's okay. Yeah, Venger says the Mad King kept cutting himself, so he probably had them removed. I think that we'll see it in a future series. I just, I could be wrong, but
I would
Nikki,
love
I think
them to
that
do a Baratheon rebellion.
I think they will, and to be honest, those were my
you think
two
they will in
guesses.
House of the Dragon.
No. My two guesses were what Venger said and what King's Advisor said. Either it was going to be the Mad King, like he just got sick of it and he just trimmed it down, or it would be Baratheon since he's like sick of the Targaryen like crap everywhere, because it was in his reign that they put away all the stuff. The Lannisters are like, put this dragon away. They took down Targaryen memorabilia essentially. So it's either one of those two.
Yeah, and if they do cover Robert's Rebellion in any type of limited series, which I think would be really cool to see. I mean, just to see.
Oh my god,
Rhaegar.
they should get the guy that played young Ned in the flashback. I know he was in Rings of Power, nobody liked, but I think he made a really cool young Ned in the.
You know what's funny is I watched
old by the time they do it. Though.
Well, no, he's still he could pull it off. When I saw him in Rings of Power, the first couple episodes that I watched, I didn't realize that was him. I was like, where do I know? What's he been in? Then I realized, I read it, had to read it. It was young Ned. I didn't know it. But yeah, he could do it. And then they got to get someone who's, a Gerard Butler type. They got to get somebody to play Robert that's not overweight and slot. Robert's powerful.
They could get Harry to come back and play Rhaegar. I really love Harry Lloyd. I'm so mad that his time as Viserys was so short.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, so
who's Harry Lloyd?
Who played
Daenerys' brother?
Rhaegar?
No, Harry Lloyd played Viserys, which is Daenerys' brother in season 1. Yeah,
he got burned by the crown.
But
the gold.
Rhaegar's a lot like.
Yeah, he's burlier. He's bigger.
But Rhaegar did look. He did his. The eyes are different, but obviously he looked a lot like Viserys.
Chris Helmsworth to play Rhaegar. Might be.
But Rhaegar wasn't stocky.
No, he wasn't.
He was slender. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't. Like, because when he fights Robert smokes him. Like Robert Baratheon, and I'm trying to think.
Rhaegar is supposed to be like one of the strongest fighters in the kingdom. So.
But he's also very smart. He sings. He's sensitive, but cares about family. He's very calculated.
They tried to cast as Robert before they settled?
Who?
Brian Cox from Succession.
Stop it.
Yeah, the guy who played Agamemnon in Troy.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, Brian Cox.
He was in.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, and that would have been, not that I don't like Robert in Game of Thrones, but he didn't look super old. He was just overweight and sloth. But Brian Cox would have been an older Robert.
In the breastplate stretcher. I love that scene.
If you're going to do Robert's Rebellion, he's toting the hammer, man. He's got to be a dude that when you fight him, you're in trouble. And that's why Rhaegar, not good enough to beat Robert, and so, and then Ned, the guy who played Ned, I mean, he's not very big, but yeah, I think they're going to do we're going to see the Blackfire Rebellion. You know, I think we will see if they do some of these future series. And I have a feeling David Zaslav's not going to be in charge by the time. Do you see they wrote an article? I think GQ wrote an scathing article on Brian Cox. He's talked about it. He's given an interview where Felicity where he talked about why he didn't do it. He it wasn't a big enough part, and I think he just thought this was going to be another.
I'm sure most of the money went to Sean Bean.
And granted, they almost didn't even get the show off the ground. They filmed the pilot.
Oh my God! Do you think we will ever see that pilot? I am so curious. It's so bad.
I would like to see it. And there was a completely different Daenerys.
Yeah.
You know, they fired her and brought in Emilia Clarke. But so David Zaslav, GQ wrote an scathing article on Zaslav, and the managing editor, the one of the leaders at GQ that was in charge of editorial, has a project right now that's been greenlit by Warner Brothers, and he killed the article. So Zaslav is not going to come out looking good. I mean, because the article, people screenshotted it, so it's out there. And I was going to show it tonight, but I was like, it's a little too inside baseball. But
people were mad.
But yeah, Zaslav, he's going to have to fight to stay on top. I mean, because
they're mad at him though because of the Batgirl thing, and he cut some of those.
He's not going around.
DEI shows.
Mm-hmm.
He's licensing. He's pulling revenue from the licensing deal, and what it does is it puts pressure on some of the other studios, where their investors why aren't you licensing? We could get $2 billion. Warner just got 500. We've got 5 times that. License it out. It puts pressure on them to bring in the revenue streams when they're walking in saying they're losing $1 billion a quarter. So they're definitely not fans of Zaslav because it's putting pressure on the other studio heads to do the same thing. Venger, the small clips from the unaired pilot in the first episode, I've seen only little snippets. I haven't seen much from that first one. I thought they kept that locked up pretty good. We did see Batgirl running down the street at about 2 miles per hour. We covered that a few weeks ago. So let's give away another Game of Thrones thing tonight. I'm in a good mood. Let's give away another autograph box set.
Got a good chance of winning. 1 in 13.
Special Ray, you've gotten something before. Who's a big Game of Thrones fan that has not won something? You could end up with, I don't think I have them in here. There are cards. There's an autograph card in every pack, and there's 3 in here. Yeah, 3 packs. So you're guaranteed 3 autograph cards. From what I've seen so far in these Volume 2 boxes, they tend to have been supporting characters. But I'll show you what some of the cards look like. Just so you can kind of get an idea. They kind of change the styles of them. There's Stannis Baratheon. And on the back, they all kind of make a design of a scene from the show. There's a Ramsay killing Roose. So there's different styles of the cards, and pretty cool. And then there's Daenerys and Jon. So there's some really good cards in there. And then you get 3 autographs. And then this one is Thoros of Myr, which is metal. It's a metal card. So I think you might get 1 metal one in each pack. And Kings, you won one of these, didn't you? You got a couple of Davos, didn't you? But if somebody is a Game of Thrones fan, I'll send it to you. If not, I'll send it to Nikki. I'm
always a default, so
yeah, she's a default tonight. So if somebody, Venger, you lucked out because I shipped one of these to you, and you're in England, and that was not cheap. That shipping to go to England when I got there, and they gave me the total, but I sent it to you, right? Yeah, you did. Caleb, you got. You got no Davos. Maybe that was. Maybe that was Mr. Bubba. Mr. Bubba, I think, got the Davos ones because he posted it. Is Felicity? Felicity's a Game of Thrones fan.
Mm-hmm.
Felicity, you want the Game of Thrones? Kings. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. We know that, Caleb. You've already won. All right. Okay. Felicity said, yes, I'm a fan. Felicity, you got it. I'll send you this. So you can keep it, never open it, and hope that in years it's worth a lot more. These things are like $160 if you go online and buy them, like anywhere from 150 to 170. So they have value. I am going to be getting my hands on. They had what was called the Iron Anniversary Volume 1. I know, easy prize. I haven't given away anything in like 3 weeks, so I was feeling kind of bad because I went like a month and a half in a row where every week I gave something away. But
it's like Oprah.
Yeah, Oprah. I'm not giving cars away though. But they're good. They're good. They're not $20 stuff. I'm giving away good stuff. So the Iron Anniversary, which is Volume 1, if you look up online, it's like white or silver and black. I've got 3 boxes of those coming in, and they were not easy to get my hands on. And I'm told that you have a chance of getting a Amelia Clark, Kit Harington, Jamie Lannister, several of the main characters from the show. You have a chance of winning getting those in those boxes. And so I'm kind of interested to see, I'm not going to do an unboxing on my channel. I get more of a kick out of seeing people, that get stuff, and it makes me I get more joy out of that, like, because I've opened so many things. Sterling can tell you, like, we have stuff you guys can't see. We have boxes of Andor, these cards. If you're a big Rey fan,
about the Star Wars VHS
the monikers.
Tapes. Did you see that?
That was awesome.
So I've got some of the autograph cards from this Andor set. But they do have some I'll show you guys. They do have some cool stuff that's like if you like anime. So I won't go down the road of showing all the sequel stuff that they put in these boxes. But they have these things called manga madness. Yeah. And there's one of like Han Solo and Carbonite. If you guys can see it. Here's Luke with Vader when he's in on Endor and he turns himself in. Here's
You might as well just send that. If it's Andor stuff, just send it straight to Matt.
Yeah. So you know what was funny was I gave away several of these Andor boxes to different people, and then I opened a few, and I noticed pretty quickly that they have hardly any. They have Rebels characters, they have sequel trilogy characters, but they don't have very many at all of original trilogy. And so when they do show a Luke Skywalker, it's the Luke from Book of Boba Fett. When they show a Leia, it's the Leia from, see, that one's autographed. That's the girl from Jedi Survivor. I may give that away.
Let me see.
So y'all see that? That's an autograph card. That one.
Yeah.
She plays Siri in
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor, the game. So I did notice that like that had to have been on purpose because I've opened 3 or 4 boxes, and you go through all these boxes and you realize, man, they didn't put any really of the original trilogy characters. If they do put the characters that were in the original trilogy, they put the photos of them on the cards from the newer stuff. So that has to be on purpose. That's not an accident. But Matt Twain, thanks for coming on, bud. Matt Twain and I talked in Nashville, and he lived in the same town that I live in now. Used to. So he's in Paris, Tennessee now, but he was
Don't dox yourself.
He was Sterling, so he's always so worried about. He thinks people. When we first started the YouTube channel, he was like, "I don't have to give my full name and let someone be able to do geo tracking to find out exactly where we are." I think no, you'll be okay.
We're not big enough where it matters.
Yeah. No, and what people don't see is that when we did our first, we have like 82 videos now, 85 somewhere around there, and our first 5 or 6 videos, there's a lot of editing. Sterling's like, "Can you take that out? I don't want that out." That I just said that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to learn with the internet, man.
And you know what? Look, I mean, we probably should have rolled with it. Like I should have just said, Sterling, what do you think about Star Wars? What do you think? Just let you talk for 30 minutes.
Get you demonetized before
we would have never
monetized.
Yeah, someone told me the other day I could do the monetized stuff, and I was like, I'm not gonna fool with it until we're over 2,000. I'll fool with it, 6 months. We're on track. I think our watch hours are like 6,500.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, and we in the last 28 days we've added 114 subscribers in the last 28 days. So we're doing about 20 something a week, I think is our average right now. So we hit this plateau in January, February, and then and we're starting to kind of figure it out though. Like I tried to do shorts, and I don't know, Nikki, I don't know about you, but like I don't think the shorts. They talked about a focus on that. I don't think it does anything. The shorts, I just don't think it does.
I don't think so either. Felicity has more experience with shorts than I do on her other channel, but I feel like you could get a hit and some can go viral, but how many subs you actually get from those? Yeah. Sometimes you can get like 2, sometimes if you're lucky, like 10. It just really depends. It's good for getting your channel out there, but again, I don't know how many people actually hit subscribe. Like I skip shorts all the time when I'm on mobile, but that's just me.
Yeah.
So.
And with a short, you're like, I'm not going to go subscribe or,
yeah, it's like going through, like, for example, I don't have TikTok. I've never used it, but I use Instagram just for reels, just for the funny videos. I barely ever follow somebody because of a reel. So it's kind of like the same concept. Yeah. I'm just scrolling through,
Yeah, like Roxy, who's on Christian Harloff's show, she'll do a bunch of that stuff, like on Instagram, the reels or whatever. But if you're on your phone, I'm like, I don't know where to like subscribe. I know she's on Christian Harloff.
Mm-hmm.
But like the reels, I don't know. But like with us being a newer channel, we don't get a lot of like people in our live stream. But like our stream from 3 days ago, Nikki, and we need to give a shout out to Salty Inferno before you get out. But our stream 3 days ago is at 600 right now.
Cool.
And the one before that from last week's at 2,000. So we don't get a lot of people in live because I think part of it is we just say, like we did tonight. It was like, I'm leaving to go to San Antonio tomorrow. And Venture, I'll answer your question just a second, or what you said about Amelia. But we're going to this Comic-Con, and so Sterling's like, are you doing anything tonight? We typically record videos on Wednesday. And I was like, yeah, let's just stream. So I think I'm doing the opposite of what they say to do, which is have a set time every week when you do your streams.
We're just kind of winging it.
Yeah, people know that that's the time you do it. And then YouTube knows that as well. We haven't been doing that. We might stream on Wednesday, and then like Caleb and I talk, I might do it on Sunday. Until we get further down the road, we're just going to do it when we can do it, because we both, I work 50 plus hours a week.
Yeah, full-time jobs.
And most weeks I'm out of town. I'm either in Nashville or somewhere else. And so we just do it when we can do it. But we have been getting we've done in the last 3 weeks, we're over 30,000 views like in the last 3 weeks. So we're getting, our House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones stuff is getting thousands of views, and our streams are it looks like this stream that we did with you, Nikki, 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. It looks like it'll go over 1,000.
So do you get most of your watch hours from streams?
We have, but we get most of our watch hours from our Yellowstone 1923 Taylor Sheridan stuff and Game of Thrones House of the Dragon.
Okay.
So those are
the problem with this like little corner of YouTube is that a lot of us have like cross time. So like, for example, when Felicity and I start streaming, I don't want to speak for her, but probably it would be like once a week or something. And it's hard picking a time because, for example, with freaking X-Wing, yes, I'm gonna call him out here, late night sometimes doesn't happen, and if it does, for example, this week it's probably gonna be on Saturday instead of Friday, and then EBN Saturday and Thursday's EBN, and it's like I kind of always wanted to do Friday nights, but then maybe with her I'll end up doing Saturday nights. I don't know. We have to talk about it, but it's all about picking a time and just like sticking to it, and people know when to find you.
And you know what I've noticed with like some of the other YouTubers that are kind of in a community, they band together, and there are those out there. What they pull from being, I'm not a fan of having 10 people on the stream, together, because it's like 4 or 5 of them are saying nothing for 2 hours. And you have 3 or 4 that do a lot of the talking. But I think there's a good mix. I don't know how much benefit you get, like if you're on someone else's stream, and X-Wing and I have talked about that. But I think once you find a community, I know some of them, compliment each other in the times they go on. So like
I'm mixed on that because I feel like, if you're close to a channel, like for example, I'm an EBN on Thursdays. I wouldn't want to stream at the same time as I'm on Saturday just because I'm on their channel. But I'm not going to worry if I'm streaming at the same time as somebody else, because at the end of the day, you have to do your own thing too. Like you got to build your own stuff. So
it's I think it's a small circle of like, Star Wars Theory, he'll do stuff with Josh, Nerd Theory, but he doesn't care whenever anybody else is going on.
Well, right? I mean, she has like 2 million subscribers. He ain't gonna care that much, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's not gonna care. I mean, and that guy's got, he busts his ass. He's got the workout, the strength theory channel. He's got a Harry Potter theory. He's got Dragon Ball Z theory.
It's his job.
I mean, that's his full-time gig, man.
Exactly.
And so I don't blame him. But Venture, to answer your question, Emilia Clarke saying she's not going to be in the Jon Snow series. Listen, there's nobody that's been on Game of Thrones that's career is lighting up. So none of them. And it's a little bit like Star Wars minus Harrison Ford. And Emilia has got, I love Emilia Clarke. Everybody that's been on here knows I'm a huge Emilia Clarke fan. But Secret Invasion, I don't know if that's going to be the thing that launches her. Some of the movies she's done have not, they're smaller. And I know she's got a big focus on her Clinique, the makeup line, all that stuff. But look, at the end of the day, Jon Snow's not coming out for at least 3 or 4 years.
So supposedly they haven't like officially confirmed it's a show yet. That's why people are thinking. That's why people are thinking him going to this con is a way of him possibly confirming it's going to be a show, because it's just been like heavy speculation. Though people wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being true, but it hasn't been like so. Like because out of the shows they released, that wasn't one of them, right? It was Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Nymeria Ships. What else did he confirm? I can't remember.
So they did Nymeria, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Sea Snake.
Yeah, the Sea Snake. There you go.
And they
are they doing the Sea Snake show?
Yeah.
Officially, really?
Well, the Sea Snake and Nymeria have been shelved because the strike's going on, so they're doing nothing right now. And Night of the Seven Kingdoms has the writers' room, or the writers, but they're not working right now. And the SAG is meeting right now preemptively. They may, if the SAG ends up striking here soon, I think they extended the agreement by like 2 weeks, so it could come up next week. Venger, keep watching Secret Invasion. Like that was a little bit of a sleight of hand. That's last episode. So you kind of have to watch what happened earlier in the episode. They kind of gave something away. A little bit of sloppy writing. I don't think they handled that very, very well, because it's easy to see what they're going to do. I don't know. I was saying at the opening of the stream that I got to watch a few more episodes. I'm not checked out on it, but man, it's just Ben Mendelsohn, who I love as Krennic, Sam Jackson, who doesn't love Sam Jackson, and they just seem like two guys who, when they're interacting with each other, they're just phoning it in. They're like, man, we've made millions of dollars. What's the script? It's just weird stuff. Like, how did I know this person was a Skrull? Because nobody calls me Nick. And I'm like, Tony Stark called you Nick.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know. But so at the end of the day, I think Emilia Clarke, the Jon Snow series is not going to be out. If they greenlit it tomorrow or announced it,
The strike is lasting a long time. Remember Blood Moon? So much money went into that show, Naomi Watts, everything, and it just got canned.
They spent they're almost 30 million, 20 something million.
The pilot was bad or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, they didn't move forward. It was going to take place thousands of years before the events of Game of Thrones.
And that was canceled after season 8, right? Because I'm wondering if like the bad reaction to the Long Night episode is what steered the cancellation as well. I don't know.
Well, supposedly Casey Blois just said it just didn't work. He wasn't knocking Naomi Watts. He just said it just didn't work. But Emilia Clarke, the Jon Snow series, he's a producer on it, and his writing partner is the guy who did Gunpowder on HBO. But they got to go through George R.R. Martin. It's not going to move forward until George R.R. Martin says we're ready. And right now he is focused on Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And so Jon Snow is at least 3 to 5 years away.
Another show that the books aren't freaking finished for. George. Good Lord.
Yeah, they filmed the pilot for the Long Night venture. But like Jon Snow, Emilia Clarke can say she's not going to be in it. Listen, in 3 to 4 years when they because I said on a prior episode, we talked about the Jon Snow series. They're not bringing her in season 1 of that series anyway. If Emilia Clarke does come back, they will get the series going, and it'll be.
How would they even bring her back in a flashback, or is there going to be some freaky magic in old Valyria?
It depends.
The red women.
Oh, here we go.
I don't have any doubt. Look, I've said this when the show ended. In the last council scene, when he's reporting that Drogon was the last thing flying over, he's about to say Volantis. And
I think Valyria.
I thought he was saying Volantis towards Volantis, but it could have been Valyria, but he would have said old Valyria.
Maybe, yeah, true.
He started with a V, so
instead of a Jon Snow show, I would like a show about Ashai or Yeti, like the unexplored parts of.
Well, the first season of the Jon Snow series, we're going to find him in the north, with Tormund. And he's going to be dealing with PTSD, the trauma.
Yeah, being a puss, because he said, Kit Harington has said a million times, he doesn't want to be a toxic male ever again.
Take this to the bank. We'll go back and show a clip of this stream in 3 or 4 years. Guaranteed the first 2 episodes of the Jon Snow series, he will be sleeping and he'll wake up. He'll have a nightmare. He'll wake up. Guaranteed. He will be in sweat and he'll be coming out of his sleep, having nightmares about killing Daenerys and about.
And season 8 was a dream.
Yeah, and about
it's retcon. Season 8's gone. It was a dream from Jon Snow. He wakes up at the wall.
Yeah, aka Bobby Ewing in Dallas. A lot of people that don't remember that in the 80s, they did away with a whole season of the biggest show on television in America. Bobby Ewing died on Dallas. And a year later, because the ratings had dropped, everybody was mad. They wanted Bobby back because he was the good guy. And literally, at the end of the season, the season finale, his wife, Pamela, wakes up. She's asleep, and she hears something, and she goes in the bathroom, and she opens the shower door, and Bobby is in the shower. And they just said it was all a dream. The whole season before was a dream. People went nuts. Like, the balls you got to have to walk in a room and go, listen, we got to bring Bobby back. How are we going to do it? Like, is his long lost twin brother?
They could start the episode.
And they go, no, it was a dream. What was a dream? The whole season.
They could start the episode with Bran Stark, like looking up with those white eyes.
Yeah.
And then it was his vision.
Yeah,
Season 8 was Bran's vision.
Yeah, I know that would be great. Bran.
If I never see Isaac's face again, it'd be too soon, honestly.
Hey,
that stupid face of his.
Season 9, episode 1, Bran's eyes open. He goes from the glass eyes to the white eyes to working till he opens his eyes and he's under the tree where Hodor.
Oh my God. There was nothing more disappointing aside from Arya being the one to kill the Night King of that episode of The Long Night where we see Bran warging into crows and we're all waiting. What the hell is he going to do? We had these theories. What's he going to do? Is he going to warg into the Night King? Is he going to warg into a dragon? This almost cursed. This dude just wargs into birds to keep an eye on everything. Wow. You're a big help, Bran. Freaking jerk.
Kings, people say that Sopranos final episode was one of the worst ever. It wasn't. He died. It went to black. They played music the last season and a half leading up to it about his death. And people talk about, like, when you get shot, like you're in the mob or whatever, like you usually don't see it coming. Somebody was in the restaurant and he's eating with his family and he fades to black. And like, that was it. And so to me, I thought that was a fitting ending. It's like, you're a mob boss and then the screen goes black. It's over.
I mean, listen, it's no secret when you have a huge show, the finale is going to disappoint in some aspects.
It's going to criticize some way.
Like Succession, for example, I love it. The finale did not do that much.
I didn't like the finale at all.
Yeah. So that's I understand that, but Game of Thrones like went far beyond a disappointing finale. They just went straight to the crapper with that one. Like they just put together all this like weird loose ends that didn't make any sense. Like this didn't even try.
Breaking Bad,
rushed the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking Bad was great. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. What they did with their final season was really smart.
Breaking Bad was great.
With Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, they the whole last season they fast forwarded 10, 20 years in the future, showing her as like the biggest thing in show business. She's like a Lucille Ball. She's rich. She's kind of isolated, so she didn't have a lot of people around her personally, but she's uber rich and famous. And then they kind of go back again before it all ends, and you see the show ends with her moment that made her. She worked for the show every episode. She worked to get to that moment to get her big break, and the show basically ends with her moment when this is where it happened. But you had those other fast forwards throughout the final season that let you see pieces of her future. And I thought that was really well done, really well written. Breaking Bad was a great one. 12 Monkeys.
Did you ever watch Spartacus?
Spartacus before Andy Whitfield died.
Yeah. But I mean, I thought they ended it pretty well.
I mean, they had a tough gig on Spartacus because Andy Whitfield, the main actor, died after like season 1 or 2.
I think he would have been a superstar.
You know what show is going to have a lot of pressure to have a good finale too is Stranger Things. Like Stranger Things is this crazy phenomenon that like season 1 was amazing and people lost track of it. Season 2 and 3. Season 4 is like a prime example of how to turn a show around completely and just revitalize the script. And it's also a binging show, which dies out on the news pretty quick unless you're like Cobra Kai or Stranger Things. That finale better hit hard.
6 Feet Under, Felicity, 6 Feet Under is one of the top 5 seasons of all time.
I haven't seen that.
Like, amazing. And 12 Monkeys, great. If you haven't watched 12 Monkeys, Terry Matalas, who did season 3 of Picard. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but the series, great. Ozarks, horrible ending. Horrible ending. It's tough. When you're ending a show, which the reason why, and we'll stop on this, but like Breaking Bad, I think the reason why that worked is because he began the show knowing how it was going to play out, the end, and so it's kind of like I went to a writer's workshop years ago, and this guy was standing up talking, and he said, begin with the end in mind. And so when you're creating a story, you have to know where you're going. You can't just say.
I feel like they should have had that for Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think things got sideways. The Americans, badass show, great show, and good ending. Not the greatest ending, but good ending. It was good. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, like Nikki said, it's like when a show becomes popular and you have millions of people tuning in, you have millions of opinions on. I mean, I heard 100 different opinions on how Game of Thrones should end, with Daenerys, with Jon, with Tyrion, with Bran, with Jaime. How many times did we hear Jaime's got to go kill Cersei?
But listen, and here's the thing, just to interrupt you there, and one argument I hated so much when the season ended was like, well, it's your theories, that's why you're disappointed, blah, blah, blah. That's BS, because sure, it's fun to theorize, but for example, if it would have been Jon that killed the Night King, that was totally expected, but nobody would have been disappointed if he actually did it, because that was meant to be for him. It's like they took the theories and they just didn't, to subvert your expectations crap. They just didn't want the fans to be right, so they did everything the opposite.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
I hated Jamie hooking up with
Dude, and then just
Grant.
ditching her
That's so
right
dumb.
after too, though. Like, so
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah, what did he tell her? He said, "I'm not a good person." You know, when he went to get on the horse, he's like, "I'm vile." You know, and
the only way to redeem that was that if he would have gone to King's Landing to kill Cersei himself, but he gets shanked by the freaking Hot Topic pirate, and then they just get the building to fall on them.
The Hot Topic.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people don't talk about enough is they screwed up Euron Greyjoy bad. They screwed the TV version.
He's menacing in the book. He's like a
they
demon.
Screwed that up. You know, I know Dane and Dave. They've got this the 3-body problem coming out. I'm very interested to see.
Have fans forgiven them to give their new stuff a chance?
I don't know, man. Like, I think those guys are going to have a hard road because so many people are pissed at them.
Have you ever watched multiple seasons of a show and just gave up on it? Where you put a lot of time into it and you just said, I can't do it.
Walking Dead.
That's exactly. I was
Walking Dead.
That's the one I did.
I got to the point where, he did an interview.
After Rick left, I was done.
He did an interview and he said, like, after season 4 or 5, it was before Negan. And he said, there's no cure. There's never going to be a cure. The show's not about that. I'm like, but they get bit. They get like, what do you mean it's not about that? Like,
No.
So I have to watch 10 seasons of this show where they're never going to find the answer to what happened and how they could stop it, or like, come on, like and so now they came out the other day and said the new Dead City or whatever it's called.
No.
Like, I don't care why. Like,
let's watch 4 different shows just to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, that's why anything where it's like zombie type stuff, it's like it's to me it's lazy writing. It's lazy writing, but look, I mean, these books, the stuff that George R. R. Martin has written, I'm gonna be catching up on some stuff, World of Ice and Fire and some other stuff while I'm there, and we'll see what happens if they're. I don't think they'll announce anything at the con, but
everybody pulled out of Comic-Con this year.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is like
everybody, Marvel, DC.
If you look at San Diego Comic-Con and the fact that everything was canceled, this may be one of the stranger things that this con in San Antonio has the most stars. Yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, so we'll see if look. I'm gonna go to the panel. We're gonna do 3 videos. I'm gonna do 3 just kind of walking around the con, looking stupid with one of those sticks that holds the phone. And we'll upload them and try to see what kind of footage we can get. Just kind of show maybe 5-minute videos of day 1, day 2, day 3 of the con, and just put those out and see how those are. They'll be, nothing major, but if I can get any footage of the people that are there, I'll do that. But hopefully we'll get something. He's going to be asked. Kit just had a child. I thought someone said in the chat, him leaving after she gave birth on July 3rd. Was there a reason that he's going to this one? I think it's probably easier on him because she had the baby, and
he didn't have much else going on though.
No,
do me a favor when you meet Kit, trigger him by saying, "Bro, you had the best kills ever. I love when you killed people in the show. That's what a man would do." See what he says.
Well,
you were a savage in Battle of the Bastards.
And that's what we need right now. We need savages.
We need more savages.
We need to unpuss him, bro. Unpuss him.
Yeah, he had a baby girl. That he's made a couple of comments that he's still not happy that he's not the one to kill the Night King. He's talked about that multiple times. That that was terrible. He's still
even Macy Williams is like, me? Really?
Yeah. She was like, what? Like, what's And he's mentioned a few times. He's like, yeah, I thought I was going to be the one to kill the Night King, and then it didn't happen. And you could tell he's, but they try to be careful not to attack Dan and Dave because look, these people have become famous and millionaires because of being on the show. And
because on one hand, it's like, yeah, you have to have some respect for Dan and Dave for all the time they put into it. But on the other hand, they got the show because they guessed who freaking Jon Snow's parents were. That's why George gets it. So there's something about George's handing off their legacies to these weirdos that never know how to do anything right with it.
Look, and we don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but has George done a little bit of that with Filoni?
Yeah, and Kathleen.
Listen, I mean, I know some people, we can argue about Filoni and Favreau and all that. An animator, running the whole thing, I'm not down with that. I think, hey, you're an animator. We'll give you a series. You take your
I
shot.
don't think that's gonna
But
happen.
yeah, I'm not sold on that. But yeah, so we appreciate everybody jumping on tonight. Nikki, thanks for jumping on. We're once we get back from this con, we're gonna try to do some cool stuff. We're gonna I got somebody with House of the Dragon that I think once we get back, hopefully we'll be on, which will be cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them, do they want it to be recorded or live stream? And if they want it to be recorded, then I'm going to announce who it is and then have questions be submitted. And Nikki, I'll talk to you about who it is, but
All right.
it should be cool. I'm real close to getting it done, and then I got to leave it up to them. So if they say they want it to be recorded and they get to see it before we put it out, then I'll honor that. And if they're cool with going live stream, then we'll probably have a lot of people tune in to ask questions, because I think that could be pretty cool. But I'll probably need a moderator to do that. But anyway, so thanks everybody for jumping on. Nikki, as always, we really appreciate it. You want to give a shout out to Felicity and your channel, The Salty Inferno?
Oh my God, I'm so bad at this stuff. Every time someone asks me, I'm like,
you gotta.
I have to start practicing that. But everybody that's here has subscribed to us. So I appreciate you guys. We just applied. Well, we got monetized, like the soft monetization without the ads and stuff. So we're going to be working on that, doing the whole shebang with the memberships and stuff. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you for your support, though. Yeah,
they do Game of Thrones on the Salty Inferno, House of the Dragon, all things George R.R. Martin. They cover other movies and series that, whatever they want to cover. They feel like they got something to say. It's interesting. It's fun to watch.
We run our mouths, that's for sure.
Yeah, so you guys go check out the Salty Inferno, and we'll be back once we get done with the Comic-Con next week. And as always, we're the Sundowners Club. Thanks you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate everybody. And we're going to duck out of here.
Bye.
Thanks, Nikki.
No problem.
All right. See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.